Welcome.
Apart from its coconut trees, delicious fish curries, banana chips, backwaters, or mesmeric sceneries, the state of Kerala stands out for its celebration of cinema. Often regarded as the best film industry in India with respect to the quality and content, the Malayalam film industry has been offering us endearing stories, fascinating performances, innovative behind the camera works, and above all, true Indian cinematic content over decades now. Interestingly, the history of Malayalam cinema differs substantially from the other three major South Indian film industries, that is, Tamil, Telugu, and Kannada. The other southern industries, mainly Tamil and Telugu industry, are hugely popular for their big budget blockbusters and for the creation of audience category called fan. Fan associations dominate the industrial conditions and create havoc in the exhibition space. They determine the turnouts of the blockbusters, the narratives, even the political career of the hero. No wonder we have so many of the southern film stars join politics. In Kerala, however, the scenario is very different, be it narrative or politics. Although superstars like Mohanlal, Mammootty, or few others have experienced this fan culture, it is far from being the essence of Malayalam cinema. However, what essentially sets apart Malayalam cinema is its narrative supremacy, dominance of the middle class in its real and rooted characterizations, local essence, strong technicalities, the Gulf connection, and its impact on the financial condition of the industry, and the presence of the populist left. Let's now deep dive into the history of the industry in trying to touch these essences of Malayalam cinema. It is rather difficult to talk about a single history of the Malayalam industry, as it has multiple different cinemas, namely Kala or art cinema, Kachavada or popular commercial cinema, and Madhyavarti or middle cinema. But irrespective of its narrative category, Malayalam cinema has always been about substance over style, or rather the style itself putting forward the substance. Back in 1954, it was Ramu Karyat, the cultural activist, directing Neelakuil in collaboration with P. Bhaskaran. It was a literary adaptation of an Urup story, thereby marking Malayalam cinema's liaison with literature. The exploration into literature kept on happening with Thakazi Shivashankara Pillai's Chemen in 1965, adapted by Ramu Karyat. P. Bhaskaran adapted M.T. Vasudevan Nayar's Irutinte Atmavu in 1967, or a Vincent's adaptation of Vikram Muhammad Bashir's Bhargavi Nilayam in 1964. Come 70s, it was the advent of new wave exponents in Malayalam cinema, initiated by filmmakers such as Adur Gopalakrishnan, John Abraham, and Govindan Aravindan. The Madhyavarti narrative got a parallel alternative in Kala, the artful narrative, in the hands of these legendary filmmakers. The narrative varied, but the probing into literature continued, as both Adur and Aravindan adapted works of Bashir, Paul Zakaria, C.V. Sriraman, and C.R. Srikantan Nair. Madhyavarti cinema in the hands of Padmarajan, George, Bharatan, or Lohita Das made a strong comeback too. Not confined to the self-conscious style of the new wave, nor avert to the popular motifs of song, dance, humor, action, which were by then the very structure of cinema in any other industry. Yet the new Madhyavarti maintained a distinct and strong connection to its substance and never included the popular motives at the cost of narrative, thus obliterating the divide between art and popular. Today, when we are astounded by the works of Ashik Abu, Dilish Pothan, Jeethu Joseph, or Anjali Menon and wonder how cinema can be equally insightful, moving, and engaging at the same time, we need to acknowledge and realize that it was Padmarajan, Lohita Das, and their contemporaries who paved this road, who in turn were inspired in forming an alternate resort to the new wave legends. Good literature, narrative subversions, or experimental risks has been the legacy of Malayalam cinema for a very long time. So today, when you watch a Kusalan in Tamil or Kathanayakkudu in Telugu, both starring the box office king Rajinikanth, you miss the charm and the warmth of the Malayalam original Katha Pariyum Pol by Mammootty and Srinivasan. The star takes over the story as against the Malayalam version. In the Hindi version, Billu, the supremely talented Irfan Khan steals the thunder from the star SRK. It still cannot avoid the item numbers, which adds nothing to the basic narrative. Let's now look at a visual example which illustrates the aesthetic beauty of Malayalam cinema. Two similar settings where a new young pretty teacher has come to the college and our protagonist, her student, develops an instant crush.
மலர்
மலர் மலர்
என் பேரு சொன்னேன் உங்க பேரு
உங்க பேர்
Look at Sai Pallavi in this entry scene in Premam. The grace, the warmth, and overall the relatability of the whole situation. And now look at Shushmita Sen's entry in Main Hoon Na. It's definitely enjoyable. You laugh loud, crack jokes, but the charm of the involuntary smile Premam brings is missing. The other aspect of Malayalam cinema, which comes out from the scene comparison, is the dominance of the middle class. While Shushmita's chemistry teacher is in designer clothes in her class, Sai Pallavi as Malar is the embodiment of the girl next door. Irrespective of the narrative form, this industry has always been predominant about worker class themed films, be in Adur's anti-feudal classics or the pure action themed giant starrers. The emergence of the film society movement in Kerala in the early 1970s could be identified as an indication of this development, addressing the Malayalis who thrive on the Kerala model of development, surviving within the service sector without engaging in the production sector. Unlike the other new wave heroes of the other regional cinemas of the nation, the Malayali new wave hero hardly moves to the country from the city. His path lies the other way round. He always tries his luck in the promises of the metropolis. This is an industry where the megastars make entries on bikes or scooters instead of cars. We watch stories of tailors, barbers, or fishermen instead of business tycoons, and the camera captures dust-laden plastic trophies or family photographs in closed-door shots instead of frame-worthy lavish aesthetics. Malayalam cinema captures the roots and realities of its time and place, the local essence, one of the strongest pillars of the beauty of this industry. There's often a lame criticism against the Malayalam industry that its content might not be catering to pan-India audiences. And so, in spite of its fabulous content over decades, it goes nationally underrated. Now, what exactly is a pan-India content? It surely cannot be something which masquerades as cosmopolitan content but does not imbibe the cultural identity or diversity of the land. There is nothing universal about it. However, a Malayalam movie does not need to have its dream sequence in Switzerland. It can very well be done in Munnar, Alappi or Kovalam. The characters do not need to be dressed in designer dresses or have tea in multinational food joints. They do all that in the most authentic Keralite way and thus in the Indian way. And if a North Indian relates more to suits and Switzerland than a Mundu and Alappi, we might be having a very different issue at hand. Malayalam films bring in a universality to the context through specificity of its local essence. This is at par with any region-specific world cinema, be Iranian, Japanese, Chinese or Latin American. Filmmakers like Lijo Jose Pellicer do not just create a point-to-point movement of the narrative form before the conflict to after the conflict. Instead, we have something like a scenic route followed, where we come across places, themes, characters which otherwise do not add up to the story but significantly uplift the journey. The characters are always imbibed in the culture of the place. So, when a certain Bangalore Days is remade in Tamil, even if the adaptation is close to the original, it gathers a very lukewarm response at the box office. The fascination that Malayalis have for big cities like Bangalore, of course, rank false for the Tamilians. The green settings of Kerala and Malayalam cinema are indispensable to each other. And as you see in the last scene of Angamali Diaries, after more than 2 hours of colourful outburst, when Pepe moves to Dubai, he just has concrete buildings surrounding him, and the colours are gone. Much before the arrival of cinema, the Malayalis were familiar with moving images on the screen through their traditional art form, Tholapavakuthu or puppet dance. Apart from the art of Tholapavakuthu, which exhibits the nature of cinema, other folk arts and classical dance forms like Kuthu, Kudiyattam and Kathakali exhibit very high visual qualities in their form. Perhaps it is this legacy of Kerala's visual culture that led the filmmakers of Kerala to take up cinema in a different way, engaging its audience in much more than a mere storytelling. Today, when we look at the new league of Malayalam filmmakers, we find them engaging with the audience through sound, visuals and edits as much as with the dialogues and performances. Consider the brilliant Sanil Kumar Sasidharan and the way he captures nature to depict universality of his characters and themes of his films. Also consider the camera work and sound design of Lijo Jose Pellicer films. The amazing capturing of the chaos or innovative sound mix is a study in itself, making them distinct characteristics of his filmmaking. We also have more and more directors coming from the background of technical artistry in the Malayalam industry, thus improving the weightage put on behind the camera achievements. And while we root for these new guns, let's also not forget that P. Ramadas's Newspaper Boy was the first reflection of new realism in Malayalam cinema back in the year 1955, even before the advent of Satyajit Ray's Pother Pachali in the same year. Malayalam cinema industry has always realized that filmmaking is as much about the form and technique as it is about the content. That brings us to one of the most interesting parts of the Malayalam industry, the financials and thus the Persian Gulf connection. The effects of migration to the Persian Gulf became visible in Malayalam cinema in the 1970s. With capital investments flowing in, mostly in terms of remittances from the Gulf, both the count and budgets of Malayalam films increased. Within the narratives of these movies, the Gulf represented the economic underground of a desirable modernity. Illegal economies and their influence in society became a central theme of these films, dramatizing the conflicts between classes, emphasizing the promise of mobility that the changing economy brings. The outlaw and the industrial worker became the heroes, very similar to what was happening to Hindi cinema. If we had an angry young man in Amitabh Bachchan in Hindi, in Malayalam, we had macho actor Jayan, who represented the desire for upward economic mobility, and Seema, who epitomized the modernity of the heroine. In the 80s, the Malayalam industry effectively globalized itself by releasing videotapes of new movies in the Gulf market, crossing the geographical boundaries of the region. Films started to have simultaneous releases in Kerala and the Gulf. Film music became available in the Gulf even before they were released in Kerala. No wonder in the 80s and 90s we find Mohanlal, the star who has represented various aspects of Malayali culture identity for more than 25 years on screen, plays characters who either desire to go to Gulf or are already in Gulf. Similarly, we have megastar Mammootty giving splendid performances in Eenadu or Pathemari, portraying the alienated souls wanting to return from the Gulf. With passing years now, the Gulf equation has changed significantly for Malayalam cinema. But what it has done in the process is break the geographical boundaries of its audience and create a distinct set of audience of non-residential Keralites or NRKs. Now marked by increased mobility, the NRKs from different locations of the world, the Gulf, Germany, the US, or even the metropolitan centers in India are seen as part of a single narrative, always supporting and rooting for quality content in Malayalam cinema. The beauty of Malayalam cinema, as we witness today, needs to duly credit its loyal audience, be it in Kerala or outside. The rich tradition of left-wing politics in Kerala also had a major impact on its cinema. Radical leftist politics during the 1970s, which initially led to some uneasiness in the Malayali civil society, eventually resulted in a multicultural, multi-ethnic, multi-religious state well known for its model of development, its Human Development Index, and its empowered women. All these enabled the Malayalam filmmaker to be in much more comfortable state to pursue his or her aesthetics. This has also resulted in the industry having a special space for political films or films with comrades in lead roles. One might have varied opinions on the efficacy of left-wing politics. However, what cannot be denied is this liaison has definitely ensured the Malayali films to be socially aware, rooted to the emotions of the common man, and relevant to its time and place. Cinema, like any other art form, is also an artifact of its time, a reference for the future generations to realize the politics, society, or culture of its past. That is exactly what has been achieved through films like Adur Gopalakrishnan's Katha Purushan, Priyadarshan's Kanchivaram, or Lal Jose's Aravi Katha. To conclude our discussion, let's look at another visual example. Let's have a closer look at Drishyam, one of the most celebrated Malayalam movies of the recent past, and try to understand how the aspects we have discussed so far come into play. Let's see why, in spite of so many remakes with popular stars of their respective industries, the Malayalam original stands miles ahead. It's really not about the plot twists or the climax, which are all the same across versions, certain to thrill the viewers. It is in the nuances of the making. The way the lower middle class is represented in Mohanlal's George Kutti switching off the lights in his house and despising the idea of buying a mobile phone for himself. while we find porcelain balls on unblemished yellow walls in Ajay Devgan's Salgaonkar household. It is in the representation of Kerala's ethnicity in George Kutti's Christian identity, while the Hindi version entirely comprises of Hindu characters, even if the setting is in Goa. It is in the creation of characters of flesh and blood in crisis situations, as we see in Mohanlal, shrewd thinking like a criminal, or in his daughter who hits her offender. In Ajay Devgan, we find cosmetic layers of benevolence added to him so as to balance his law-breaking acts later in the film, or a more romantic and heroic Kamal Hassan or Venkatesh in the Tamil or Telugu versions. It is also the screenplay, pacing, color grading, or minor character artists in the original Malayalam version which outshines the other versions so comprehensively. As one says, the devil is in the detail, and that's what exactly is the beauty of Malayalam cinema.